Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Not Financial Advice. My name is Sean, and on today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Warren Buffett's recent $100 million purchase of Liberty Sirius XM radio stock. And we're going to be answering the questions at the end of the video, by the end of the video. What is the stock worth? Is it a value trap? And what, if any, economic moat does Liberty XM radio have? We're going to be answering all those questions and taking a deep dive into Liberty Sirius XM stock right after this.
You need to diversify your bonds.
The only problem you're going to have is that you didn't buy more. By the time you read about it in the Wall Street Journal, it's already too late.
All right, so it's Thursday, April 11th, just about 5 minutes from the end of the trading day. My portfolio is up 0.55%, which is good for $435. I was down about $800 yesterday, but as far as today goes, the S&P 500 is up 0.8%. I'm up between 5 and 0.6%. And you can see here, and here, some of the best performing stocks within my holdings. Notably, Apple is lifting the whole market higher. And then we can see some of the laggers on the day, none of them much more than 1% down. So let's jump right into the topic of today's video. I'll ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's start taking a look here at Liberty Sirius XM Radio's stock. And so right off the bat, you can see that although this company is more than a year old, it looks like there's been some reorganization in their class share structures. They have Class A and Class C shares. Generally, when you see a Class A share, that's going to have higher voting rights and can sometimes be at a premium. We're going to be analyzing that one today. Although if you were seriously interested in purchasing the stock, you would need to look into what the history and the deal is with their class share structure. But the stock is currently trading for $26.22. So let's get right over here to Qualtrum and take a look at some of the key metrics as well as their balance sheet to get an idea of what's going on with this company. As always, Qualtrum is a suite of software I pay for to look at stocks, not one I'm affiliated with. So let's just dive right in to Liberty Sirius XM stock trading for $26.23. I'll ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we're going to get started. So right off the bat, we can see that this is going to be sort of a mid-cap size stock, around $8.5 billion. We can additionally see a forward PE of only 7.6 on the stock, so it's quite affordable. Not always relevant, but we see a price to book value of less than 1, which is very much so old school Buffett. And then again, we also see a very, very high free cash flow yield. So people are not interested in paying a big price for access to their proportional amount of profits from this company. So that's interesting to see for sure. And then getting into some different metrics here, importantly, we're going to take a look at revenue first. So revenue's up 8.4% per year over the last 10 years, earning a check mark, a thumbs up from me. And we can see this acceleration over the last 5 years, growing at 9.2%. We're going to be using some of these metrics in our DCF valuation at the end of the video. And I think what I'll do at this time is I'm going to actually just switch it up and take us down here so we can make sure we understand what the stock is. So the mode of Liberty Sirius XM. So when you buy a new car, oftentimes you'll get a year-long free trial of this satellite radio service. To my understanding, Liberty Sirius XM is the only radio provider that uses satellite above the earth. And so in a sense, that satellite, as well as their relationship with different automobile manufacturers, that would, I think, be the entirety of their moat. And so additionally, I think it's important to note that, you're seeing sports on here, but you're also seeing podcasts. Additionally, they own Pandora, a music playing station, a competitor to Spotify. And so, it's widely based on subscriptions, which I think Buffett would like, a toll booth company, not a very high asset laden company. And so all of those things kind of make sense as to why he would have got involved in the investment. But we need to dig a little bit deeper to get an understanding of why he's made these purchases. So this is the free cash flow chart. And when we look at it, it doesn't look overly impressive. Free cash flow growing less than 1.5% over the last 10 years, which we see as represented here 2023 to 2013. Now, obviously, depending on where you start your measuring, the rate would be a lot higher from here to here than there to this date as is being done here. So we need to look at a little bit more of a granular level. This is the type of nuance that investors other than the GOAT Buffett might miss out on. And I really had to sit here and stare at my screen for like 15 minutes to figure out what's going on. So when we take a look at this, if we look at the most recent quarter, and other quarters, what we can see, this company is pretty reliably putting up about $300 million of free cash flow per quarter. And so that's always worth a price, even if it's not growing rapidly, but there is growth here. And so if we look at this most recent quarter, $346 million of free cash flow, and then we go back approximately 5 years, we can see this number here. So we're going from 216 to 346, and that is in fact sort of in line approximately between these two numbers. Free cash flow growing when you zoom out, along that 7-8% range over the last 5-10 years. And so the free cash flow growth is in fact solid, earning it a thumbs up from me and allowing us to move on to our next metric. So what are some other things that matter that help us understand the price or the value of a given stock? So with Liberty Sirius XM, let's look over the last 10 years and let's see that we have EPS at 52 cents in 2014. And then we did have a big year, 374. Obviously, depending on where you start and end this, you can come up with different numbers, but I do see EPS growth here. And one thing to note that I discovered is they had a really strong year in 2022. Um, they had a lot of new subscribers added, and so some of these big numbers that you see just a few years back, show a little bit of an acceleration in the business, which I'm sure Buffett likes. So when it comes to EPS, I will give this a so-so rating because it's a little bit inconsistent. But you're also going to be coming up against easy comps. So there's that. And looking at debt and cash, I'll say that um, it's not great. There's a decent amount of leverage in this company. So I'll actually give that a thumbs down. Now, looking at shares outstanding, let's see what we can see here. Essentially flat. And so I'll give this a thumbs up. When we look at ratios, that can be important. So one thing that we can see here, again, depending on where you measure it, this isn't an overly consistent stock, although everything is trending up and to the right. But what we can see here is we can see, return on capital at under 5%, and then we can see it rising and sustaining closer to 7%. So this is low to mediocre returns on capital employed, but it's moving in the right direction. So it'll get a tepid thumbs up for me. Now, looking at profit margin, let's go ahead and zoom in. And what we can see here is we started at 4% and we're currently at 9.25%. I'll just give it a thumbs up without a lot of commentary. Looking at relative valuation on a PE multiple, the company is historically cheap, so that's going to be a big thumbs up for me. And looking at expenses, most recent fiscal year, something like 650 million to free cash flow 1.2. So I'll give that just a so-so rating as the expenses are not decreasing. Now, I'll ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and here's where it gets interesting. Let's take a look at Buffett's buys. Well, you can see it right there. And so a lot of these purchases happened 3-4 months ago, but at a much higher price than the current value of the stock. So I think this analysis is timely and worth looking into. So we see, right around $100 million of Buffett's buys at the beginning of 2024. Let's figure out what the fair value on Liberty Sirius XM radio stock is, currently trading for $26.22. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Hang tight. We're going to figure out the value together. Let's go. And so here we have pulled up our DCF calculator to get an idea of the fair value on Liberty Sirius XM radios, $26.22 shares. And so, as we can see here, we've used Qualtrim to average out the last 5 years of stock based compensation adjusted free cash flow. So, they're putting up about $1.25 billion of free cash flow on an annual basis, which is great. They have $306 million in cash. They have just a bit over 10 billion in debt, if I'm not mistaken, and that looks correct. Shares outstanding as of the most recent quarter, which all of these numbers here are being pulled from, 353 million. Now, we took a look together at the growth rates on the free cash flow, and they were sort of hovering around that 7-8% over the last 10 years, accelerating into the 5-year mark. So, what I've done is I've done some, I think, reasonable projections of the free cash flow in this company at 6, 4, and 3%, with a uh, terminal rate of 3% and a required rate of 10% moving forward. So we're about to see the value of these shares. One last thing before we look at this, I guess what I want to say is this. I think my thesis on the stock is that radio is a medium that's gone away, but it's not one that should have. It's a very good medium, and that's all that podcasting is essentially radio. And I think that we also can see this as a play on people going on vacation and listening to radio in their cars. Americans love their cars. Doesn't matter if the car is gasoline or electric, it can have SiriusXM radio in it. Additionally, although I recently canceled my Pandora Plus subscription, when you have high income earners who are going to be less affected during recession, that $20 a month for the affordable luxury of having, XM radio in your car, they're not even going to look twice at it. So I can see why Buffett's bought this $26 and 22-cent stock. My estimate of the fair value today is $33.25. So a pretty big upside, like north of 35%. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit like on your way out, subscribe to my channel, and make sure to follow me for more interesting stock ideas you probably won't find anywhere else. I'm Sean. This is not financial advice. I'll see you on the next one.